We have a few special presentations to kick off the meeting tonight.
Just booking it.
So we have a recognition of Doylestown celebrity tonight. But first, I would like to say it is wonderful to see all the seats filled in this room tonight for a council meeting, which is pretty amazing. So tonight, we are going to recognize 3 people. Christine Harrison for her service on Fanning Chapman Pool Board since 2017. Christine has a long history with Fanny Chapman, starting with her family and teaching swim teams. And I understand she has her own chair at the upper pool. Then Judy Stratton, who I haven't seen.
There she
Judy is here for her service on Shade Tree Commission since 2009. Judy, our master gardener, has been a backbone for the Shade Tree Commission. And she's also this year celebrating 30 years at the community garden at Church Street. And we are recognizing Joe Foster for managing Fanny Chapman since 2007. Jim is well respected by youth and the 100 staff that he manages in the summertime. And our community thanks him for his professional and diligent work during COVID to keep our pool open. And Jim cannot be recognized without tipping her hat to Barbara Foster, who is the behind-the-scenes registrar and keeps Fanny's books in excellent shape, so I hear. So would all 3 of you come up? So we can give you your award, and also if you want to say anything, and then we do a photo op. This is an appreciation for your dedicated service as a member of the Doylestown Borough Fanny Chapman Pool Board 2017 to 2022. Thank you.
I thank you all.
This plaque is an appreciation for your dedicated service as a member of the Doylestown Borough Shade Tree Commission, 2009 to 2022. Did you have to say anything? No? And James? This plaque is an appreciation for your dedicated service as the pool manager of the Fanny Chapman Swimming Pool, 2007 to 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any words for the public?
I can't say enough for the community of Doylestown. It was my pleasure to be the pool manager. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I have to give a big shout out to my wife, though. Couldn't have done it without her. Thank you.
Okay. Wait. Oops, sorry. Moving on, the next item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from our February 27th, 2023 council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second. We have a motion and second. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from the large group of public here tonight? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Mayor, do you have anything for us in a report?
Yes, I do have a report this evening. This past week, the Planning Commission had its first community input meeting on our comprehensive plan, where about 100 people gathered in this room. The Doylestown Fire Company served over 2,000 people at their annual pancake breakfast, and turnout at the Borough Dam cleanup was large enough that the work was done by 9:30. Last week and today, the first day of spring, marked the beginning of traditional and new events that will start to take us through the rest of the year. So here are some highlights of March and April, plus a little bit more. The stocking of the Borough Fishing Dam is March 22nd and April 27th. Youth Fishing Day opens April 1st, and Seniors and Disabled Veterans is April 29th. An Easter egg scavenger hunt is scheduled from March 26th to April 8th. The Easter Bunny visits Doylestown on April 8th and is available for photo ops at Discover Doylestown. April 11th is the second Community Comprehensive Planning meeting. Our flower basket planting is April 12th, and the flower basket hanging is May 12th. Doylestown pedestrian shopping and dining zones begin April 14th and 15th and continue through October 7th. Community cleanup days are April 23rd and June 11th. And then moving into May through July, we have the 30th anniversary of the Doylestown 5K race on May 27th, Juneteenth on June 18th. Doylestown Pride Fest runs from June 17th to the 25th. And the Doylestown at Dusk Car Show on July 15th. And this list does not include all our cultural community events and anniversary celebrations. These are just some of the reasons we love living in Doylestown. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Public Safety, Mr. Frederick, what do you have for us?
Yes, Mr. President. Tonight we have the Borough Hall Emergency Action Plan. Attached, please find the above referenced plan, which has been revised to reflect the relocation of Borough Hall at 10 Doyle Street. The Public Safety Committee has reviewed the plan and is recommending that council adopt it. If council wishes to follow the recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of the council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Seeing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The second part is the Doylestown Fire Company monthly report, which everyone has in their packet. And that is the end of my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Public Works and Administration, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have two items of business to handle tonight. The first one is the 2023 milling bids. On Thursday, February 23rd, 2023, bids were opened for the milling of roads for the 2023 paving season. It is recommended that the borough award the base bid to the lowest bidder, A. Giuliani Equipment Company. The tabs are as seen on it, on the document in the packet. The Public Works Committee reviewed the bids and recommended council make a motion to award to A. Giuliani Equipment at a price of $46,146.88, conditioned upon receipt of a properly executed performance bond and compliance with the bid specifications. And I will make that motion to accept it.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none, any questions or comments from any members of the public? Yes, sir. Could you come up and identify yourself?
I'm sorry, my name is Robert Kinney. I live at 225 Hillcrest. Is the list of roads that are going to be milled available, Larry?
I believe it's on the web. Do we have it on the website yet?
We can.
Those of us who might be affected by milling know where they are.
We've notified them in advance, but we do notify them in advance, and we will have it posted. Yep.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item of business is the 2023 landscape maintenance bids. On Monday, February 20th, 2023, bids were opened for the 2023 landscape maintenance contract. It is recommended that the borough award the base bid to the lowest bidder, Quality Landscapes and Hardscapes, LLC, Tabulation of the bids there were 2 quality landscapes and hardscapes and 4B landscape and construction. The Public Works Committee reviewed the bids and recommended council make a motion to award to Quality Landscape and Hardscapes LLC at a price of $50,380, conditioned upon receipt of a properly executed performance bond and compliance with the bid specifications. And I move that we accept that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And lastly, I'll hand it over to Mr. Ellinger for a report for the month.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Your Public Works activity report's in your packet, and as well as the vehicle fleet maintenance report. The department's gotten a jump on spring ball field work, and there's been some significant improvements to the dugouts and continued spring work with the mild winter. We're getting ahead of a bunch of water repair projects, and you'll see our crews working in various locations around town. We did run into a bit of a complication with the repair this week. With every valve we tried to turn to shut off broke. We ended up with 3 broken valves on 1 repair job. But the men are plugging away at that. We're also working on pre-paved utility work, where we do work within the roads that are scheduled for paving. And we've been involved in some repairing some underground feeds to some street lights that have corroded away. So that and a plurality of other things, the department has been busy. And that is the end of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellinger. I also noticed the street sweeper out much earlier than usual this year.
We did, with water in it. Usually sometimes we run it dry, but we've been above freezing. So we've actually gotten a jump on the full town sweep, which is an annual rite of spring in town. And we're working back on our normal sweeping route. So the streets are clean.
Yep. Thank you very much. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Excuse me. Community and Government Affairs, Mr. Bell, what do you have for us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 3 items for council this evening. The first is the 2023 Farmers Market License Agreement. Attached, please find the above referenced agreement, which provides for the Saturday morning farmers market on Hamilton Street by the Bucks County Food Shed Alliance. All provisions of the agreement are unchanged from previous years. The Community and Governmental Affairs Committee has reviewed the agreement and is recommending its approval. If council wishes to follow the recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second?
We have a motion and second. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The second item is the Doylestown Pride Festival Rainbow Crosswalk request. The Community and Governmental Affairs Committee met in March to consider a request from the Doylestown Pride Festival that a decorative rainbow crosswalk be installed in the vicinity of the annual block party on East State Street. The festival would cover the material costs of the installation. After discussion, the committee is recommending that council authorize the installation of a rainbow crosswalk on Printers Alley at East State Street prior to the 2023 Pride Festival. If council wishes to follow the recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from members of the public? I would ask that you would come up to the microphone, identify yourself and where you reside. Either one.
No.
No, right behind you, sir.
Microphone behind you, sir.
As far as a crosswalk with a...
Can you identify yourself for the record,
Okay,
please?
my name is Art Larson of Doylestown Township. Okay? As far as a crosswalk with rainbow colors, who cares? My issue is, if you're doing it for them, why not do it for everybody else? What about a red Chinese flag? What about a hammer and sickle on down the line there? You know, if you started for one, you got to be equal for the others. The other thing I know, and a concern, is we have a problem with this community, where I lived in other communities, where some of the powers behind us ties to organized crime. And I've seen it before in other communities, that this is a vector they're using to get in here and take over this government. I got the information. I'll give it to your chief of police so you can look at it.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Audrey Strine, and I live in Jamison. And I would like to just speak about this crosswalk. PennDOT crosswalk specifications are there for a reason. Safety. We have rules in society for a reason. Order. Okay, we don't like all the rules all the time, but they're there for a reason. We live in a society now, if it feels good, do it. Spray it, paint it, flash it, do it, all right? But we don't always get what we want. We have a Pride Fest for over a week. We have an arts festival that's amazing here. With explosion of art, we close the streets and allow any self-expression possible. I don't want to see our historic town, professional town, become a circus. As Art mentioned, if this is allowed, what's to say that we can't have every other flag and every other symbol of unicorns and everything all over the street?
Regarding your issue about it being a safety concern, we did hear you and we looked into it, and we looked and communicated with PennDOT, and it is not against any regulations, and it is allowed by the borough. And actually, if we wanted to do it on state property, we could. We would just need to get permission from the Commonwealth, which has been done. And if you wanted to do, like you guys were saying, well, we need to include other flags, that should not be an issue if people were to come forward with it, because there is like Asian American Pacific Islander Month. There is Black History Month. If we wanted to show that we understand them and that we truly love people as humans are meant to do, then I don't think this should be an issue, especially if it's cleared by safety and law standards.
Well, I'll bring to your point, all right. Why would you want to focus on the differences? My daughter happens to have Down syndrome, okay? I wouldn't want Down syndrome day or Down syndrome sprinkled all over the road. I focus on the commonalities. I don't want to be divisive. Something like this, actually, there are people who maybe have, as Art was saying, nefarious agenda. I think they're not interested in assimilating. They're there to express the less than 1% differences and make everyone else abide and toe the line. If you're not, then you're considered a hater. This is the part of society and order. It's not whether you can, it's should you. There's a certain form of order. Otherwise, it's a free-for-all. It's a chaotic system. You just can't allow we would look like a circus. We have a gorgeous justice center. We have a high professional influx in this county, and we're going to have probably more tourism than ever with all the different buildings going up. I don't want to look like a circus and a mockery. I say no. If you want to paint it in chalk, maybe for the day of the Pride Week, fine, but nothing permanent should go in this beautiful, historic, bucolic county in Doylestown. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I pointed over here.
Oh, hi. Liz Deal, Sellersville. I'm in complete agreement that this shouldn't start. Where will it ever end? I mean, are we going to have a First Amendment walkway, freedom of speech? Like, I don't want politics on the streets. As my children are walking, I don't want them, having to deal with all this. I want them to walk freely. I want it to be free. If you really love people like you say you love them, why don't you just let people be who they are and stop trying to force it on them? Why can't the streets say nothing and let people just all be who they are and leave politics, just like it shouldn't be in the school, off of the streets? It's going to be way too colorful and distracting. And I will want a First Amendment walkway, which is going to turn into thousands of other walkways, which is going to be a circus, just like Audrey was saying. I love all people, and people should do what they want, but we don't have to plaster it on our streets. We don't need to do that. Let's just keep them clean, and let's just let people be who they're going to be and leave politics out of the streets. There's no end to this. I wouldn't ever start this. There's never going to be an end. It's a bad decision.
Mr. President, could I offer one clarification?
Yes, I recognize Mr. Bell.
So just one clarification with the the genesis of this discussion, when the Pride Committee came before our committee, the issue wasn't that certain lifestyles were being advocated or that there was any ideology. The issue that the Pride Committee expressed to us was support for residents of the borough whom they believed were marginalized, were targets of hate speech, and in some cases were being discriminated against by their own school board members. So it's not really a referendum on an ideology or lifestyle. So hopefully that might offer a bit of clarification. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Lori Kesselman, New Britain Borough. I just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time to consider this. This is something that is, I think, very important for the safety of our children, and a crosswalk has to do with safety. So I thank you for helping to support a community of people who feel unsupported. So proud to live here.
Hi, y'all. My name is Jonna Franklin. I live in, I guess it's officially Plumstead, but I have a business that I've had in the center of town for just about 29 years. And I have a couple curiosities about this. One that I hadn't thought of before, you were saying that this is a thing that is done to bring about some kind of restoration for people. I don't know if that's, I feel like we would, I want to talk to everybody in the room right now, so pretend I'm facing you.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Yes, I'm sorry. This wasn't even on my mind, but it seems like if what we're looking to do is have a greater understanding of one another, there are probably things that would work better than painting that. That wasn't even on my mind when I came here, but just having heard that brought up, I've never heard of a walkway, a crosswalk changing a community's coalescence. That's just a comment I made. But what I did want to say is I don't understand that we should start using our streets as billboards. Through the years that I've been here as a merchant, well, I went through my own process with the Historical Society about their standard and desire for the way of this, of kind of the simple historic view of the way our town looks, which is the county seat. And I think that's something that ought to be preserved for a ton of reasons, of which I won't get into. I just think it is kind of opening a whole can of worms to start making it be more chaotic in the way that we would, if we would say yes to all the people of painting different crosswalks at different times. I don't know that it's the right thing for our borough. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Katrina Hawkins. I live in Doylestown Borough on Lacey Avenue, across from the big apartment building. So I have a little bit more worries about, what's going on in this town other than painting, a rainbow crosswalk. I don't see any issues with it. I think it is, we're in an age where it's important to be diverse, to include people, and make sure that everybody is treated equally. And I don't know if it's actually going on State Street or is it going on Printers Alley?
Parallel to State on Printers.
As far as safety, Printers Alley, it's an alley. There's not a lot of traffic there. So, what a great place to put it. So, yeah. Oh, and one more thing. I don't think we should listen to people that don't live in the borough. Just saying. Don't come forth. Don't tell us what.
Excuse me. Let's address your comments to the chair up here, to the council, not to one another in the audience.
Hi, Vonna D'Armond. I had some questions.
Where do you reside?
In Plumstead Township.
Okay.
I had some questions. Is this temporary?
It is not.
It is not.
Is not, okay.
Well, let me preface, all paint can be removed, but it is not
Okay, thank
intended
you.
as a temporary, it'll be actual paint.
And I apologize if you already discussed this at your other meeting, but since I wasn't there, I didn't know. My question then with that is, how toxic is the paint for the environment? And how would it be removed if it was planning to be removed? How would that affect the environment? I think that's an important question to consider. I also wondered about whether this was subject to the same historical board requirements and approvals that others have to go through and businesses to uphold the historical feel of the county seat. I know some of you are on the historical board, and I believe like a number of years ago, there was an issue with a teen who took chalk and made a turtle on one of the streets, and that was referred to as graffiti. I'm not sure exactly what happened with that, but I wonder if things are being fairly considered. We already have the Pride Festival. We have the courthouse flying the Pride flag. We have the Pride flag flown here. I'm wondering, what is the impetus, or why is it there has to be more now? Why do we have to have a permanent flag? And I heard some other comments where we want diversity. I think everybody should be who they are, and I support everybody in who they are. I don't have anything against anyone for whatever they want to be. However, are we not including people because of choosing one statement over another? And how does it bring the community together? Now, I realize I heard some, Mr. Frederick, I think, or maybe Mr. Bell, say that this was brought up because of the political climate, the school board, and so that this is coming forth as a political statement to, I guess, come up against what is going on with the school. Now, since my son attends the school, I think I have a pretty vested interest, and I have this policy 321 is, I think, what you're talking about. And I heard someone say that the school board members are discriminating against the LGBT community. I don't believe that is true, but this policy 321, if anybody in this room would like to read about it and read about some of the things that are in the policy, the truth, and then the myths about it, I'm happy to share. I have a bunch of papers I'm happy to share with you.
Excuse me?
Yep.
I think you're getting off the topic here. We're talking a crossroad, a
All right, let me say
crosswalk.
one more thing about, because I understand that it can upset some people when you say it's political. However, we know the origins of the flag go back to 1978 when Harvey Milk, who at the time was the first openly gay politician to be elected to public office, was approached an artist friend by the name of Gilbert Baker to design the flag. He was a member of the Board of Supervisors, and he was looking for the symbol to be used at the Gay Freedom Day Pride that year. And so it was a social political symbol. And I don't have an issue if it was temporary for June, for Pride Festival and all of that. I think that would be fine. But I do question the permanency of it, and with all the points and the questions that I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alex Smith. I live outside of the borough, unfortunately. I'm up near Hilltown. I'll just read off what I have prepared. There are those in this room with me who claim to, this is speaking along a religious bent, so apologies, to serve Christ and all his commands, who serve the word and his legacies, at least they profess to. I have wrestled with his words perhaps more than most. I keep a gentle nature and mind despite suffering great wrongs, and keep as close to our Lord as I can manage. I'm not a perfect man, nor I am a perfect Christian. Very rarely can any man or woman proclaim to be such. When I was first enlightened, it was a difficult time and a difficult realization. It is not easy, nor has it ever been easy to be a Christian and hold the faith while being a gay man, let alone an openly gay man. But in long communion and prayer, I felt no condemnation from my God for keeping to the genetic drive of my sexuality. He has remained my shelter and my rock, even through difficult times. His wing holds true over me, despite what some would view as the vilest sin and the foulest expression of lust dominating faith. But there is beauty in who I am. There is beauty in all who are like me, not the pretty words and flowery faith of those who go to godless false churches and hear the words of men learned in biblical language, but not in the word or in the gospel, but in true beauty. These crosswalks are an idle celebration of that beauty that harm no one, of yet another aspect of the creation and of the life gifted by God, not an affront to him, nor an affront to those citizens around me. We are charged to love thy neighbor, but it is not so simple as being nice and saying the right gentle things to those most similar to us. The original translation speaks not just of loving those close, but of giving the most love to those most different from us, of sheltering the Gentiles, of being a good Samaritan and offering help to those thrown to the side of the road, like myself, and ignored by those Pharisees and Sadducees too obsessed with the seat closest to the teacher and the power of being seen as close to God or close to political strength. I don't need any of you around me to see me as being close to God, and none of you should need to see me as being close to God to love me for who I am regardless, if you are truly to keep close to our Lord's commandment. I ask those with whom the decision of these crosswalks rests to celebrate people like me, and to not be swayed from the path of welcoming by the words of people who themselves sway from God's charge to love thy neighbor. Thank you.
Michael Negevin, Bucks County. As the contrasting applause indicates, I'm probably a minority here in this group. But the important thing is for me to say these words. First of all, Almighty God, Heavenly Father, forgive them for they don't know what they're doing. God's rainbow was not created for gay pride, LGBTQ plus, ABCD, all that other crap. It was a covenant between God and mankind that he would not destroy the earth by a flood. Unfortunately, this rainbow flag stuff that's being proposed here is a flood, and many of us are sick and tired of it. I take exception to what you said, that this was not meant to marginalize or idealize anybody. It's exactly what it's about. And I'm a marginalized white male, First Amendment, Second Amendment supporter, 20-year Navy veteran who fought so that we could all have freedoms in this nation. A republic, not a democracy. So my experience with the boards is that usually a decision's been made and comments from the public mean little, but my words have to be said. Those of us that stand for freedom, we want everybody to be free, we want everybody to live. But public displays, not on private property, private people want to put these flags up and do all this stuff, that's fine. But it doesn't belong on public property. It doesn't belong in the public square. It doesn't belong where I'm going to take my kids or my grandkids and have to explain to them what it's all about, when it's in contrast to my belief, biblical teachings. Now, again, I don't care what you do in your bedroom. You guys might be surprised what I like to do in my bedroom, but I'm not going to put it out on display for all to know. If you want to do that stuff in your bedroom, have at it, but it doesn't belong out in public. Thank you.
I'm Don Burke. I'm a Doylestown native. I'm a Doylestown resident, and sadly, one of the marginalized white people, white males that have to suffer through all this. But seriously, this was brought up to council when I served here for 12 years. And the impetus of it was a hate group that marginalized the LGBTQ plus community. And I suggested a rainbow crosswalk out. Ben said, you're just making, you're making decisions for the community. Ask the gay community what they want. And it came to this. It came to the pride celebration that we really love now. But in fact, a gay crosswalk is intended to show those marginalized people in our community that we have their backs, that these hate groups can go somewhere else, that we are a tolerant and inclusive community, and we are. And this will drive that home all the more. I'll be proud to walk on that crosswalk when it's there.
Hello, my name is Katrina Filiatro, and I live in New Britain Township. I've owned a home there since 2000, and I have a minor child who works in Doylestown Borough. I have some similar comments to the person who spoke before me. First, I want to mention that in 2010, many of you will probably recall you added legislation to the Doylestown Borough Ordinance, which included LGBTQ+ rights in employment discrimination laws for Doylestown Borough. You were a leader at that time, and I'm hoping you'll be a leader again today. It is very important right now to have an outward sign that affirms and reaffirms the commitment of Doylestown Borough to not having discriminatory behavior or laws in our borough. In 2010, when you enacted the ordinance, you did so, I believe, with the intent to encourage and bolster the Doylestown economy by enabling everybody to work in Doylestown. Currently, it's undeniable that LGBTQ+ rights have been under attack. Other states, other cities have passed certain laws that criminalize ordinary, innocuous behavior when it's conducted by people in a minority. As you know, it has never been about somebody's clothing. It has never been about which restroom they use. It has never been about where they sit on the bus. It is about establishing a vehicle for a systematic way to limit the participation of a certain group in the democracy. Because once you criminalize ordinary innocuous behavior, you create criminal records for people who occasionally have to go to the bathroom, drink water, or ride the bus. When somebody has a criminal record, they can then be excluded from their right to vote, their right to run for local office, their right to hold stable employment, own a home, and participate in their economy and their democracy. I am hopeful that tonight Doylestown Borough will agree to have a painted crosswalk acknowledging their support for LGBTQ+ rights. It is critical at this time that you make that statement, that Doylestown will not tolerate the behavior and the laws that have been sweeping this country in order to criminalize people for ordinary behavior. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ginger Hardwick. I live here in the borough. My office is in the borough, and I am president of the Congregation of Salem United Church of Christ, also here in the borough. And I've heard at least one gentleman explicitly say, and I believe others have implied, that they think that a rainbow crosswalk is the equivalent of an attack on their religion. That expressing support for LGBTQ folks is an attack on their religious belief. It is not. One analogy that came to my mind is that members of the Friends meeting here in Doylestown, Quakers, may believe that all war is wrong. We as a borough may decide that we wish to honor and support veterans who have returned from war. That is not disrespectful of the belief of Quakers. It is very simply a civic decision to support a group of people that need our support. Now, as to the very small symbol of a rainbow sidewalk, symbols are important, and it is a small, small symbol, but we have big issues. And I think everyone here knows that there's been major controversy at our elected Board of Education. Numerous young LGBTQ+ children have felt marginalized, bullied, and not supported by their elected leaders. And so I ask that this council stand in opposition to that trend in our schools and show our young people that not all elected officials are judging them, are dismissive of them, or think that they are less than. finally, I would not normally talk about religion, but it has been raised by others. So for everyone here, I just want to say that views that are sometimes stated in the name of Christianity are not the views of many of us who feel that God's light is in every single soul. And so we ask that you support all the souls of Doylestown Borough. Thank you.
James Lamb of Doylestown, and also the owner of Evolution Candy in the borough, right next to where one of the proposed rainbow crosswalks is going to be. And I just wanted to say, not as the owner of the business right next door, but I moved here a little over 6 years ago, and I moved here because Doylestown Borough is known to be an accepting and inclusive area. That's why I live here. That's why I have a business in the borough. And this small outward gesture that is proposed is not a bad idea. It's small, and we support it. And that's all I got.
Hi, my name is Carol Cook. I live in Doylestown Township. I've lived in Doylestown for 11 years. I just want to say thank you for recommending the rainbow crosswalk idea. It's needed more than ever in our community, and I think my daughter goes to CB West, and I know that the school kids appreciate any signs of support from their community at this moment, especially with everything that's going on in our school board. So I just want to say that I'm supportive, and I thank you, and I hope it's approved.
Hello, my name's Richard Thames. I've lived in the borough for decades. Mr. Burke gave the game away. The other speakers have mentioned it. You people are playing political games because you're not happy with the school board. That is beneath you, and it's beneath what this is about. You're virtue signaling with paint. It means nothing. Laws mean something. Laws to forbid discrimination for sexual activities aimed at children are legal. We don't want groomers. We don't want child molesters. We don't want child mutilators operating in the schools of this district or in the borough. And painting stripes on a street doesn't affect that one bit. I submit to you that mothers with children who are hardcore Democrats will come after you with knives if you try to sexually mutilate their children. Don't advocate for that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christine Longshore. I've lived in the borough about 25 years. But since somebody mentioned how the Quakers feel about war, my great-great ancestor, Robert Longshore, was a Quaker. He surveyed for William Penn and was paid for with a tract of land in Buckland County. So my people have been here since the beginning. The first thing I'd like to mention is I did find on the website inclusivecitymaker.com that the black and white zebra stripe color of crosswalks is used throughout the world to help people with low vision. I'm an ophthalmologist, and that low vision situation could mean a life or death for somebody crossing. Yes, there are crosswalks that do have a beep sound when someone's completely blind, but those black and white stripes are used throughout the world at crosswalks because it helps people with low vision. And if this is about inclusivity, please don't forget about people with poor vision and low vision. I also found nationally, sometimes they do use yellow and white to mark a crosswalk at a school, but in general, crosswalks are black and white for safety. I do, after living in the borough for a long time, very much enjoy when they put, for example, the teal color ribbons. I think that was Joan Doyle's sister who may have died of ovarian cancer. We turned the town teal. We put ribbons up for a month. We do breast cancer ribbons in pink for a month. Why not rainbow flags, ribbons everywhere for a month, like we do for breast cancer and ovarian cancer awareness? I think Pride Month might be June this year. How about rainbow flags, ribbons for June, so it's not something permanent that may affect people with poor vision and their safety when they cross the street? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rowan Hopwood. I live in Doylestown. I've said it before, I'm saying it now, and I'll say it again. Pride isn't political at all. Like, flags have never, like, they're not political. Like, pride flags aren't political. Like, I don't know how else to say it, and I've said it so many times, and it's just, it's not that deep. It's colors on a crosswalk. Like, I don't know what else to say. That's kind of it, but yeah.
My name is Zandy Hall. I'm also in Doylestown. Thank you all for taking time to consider the request of Rainbow Crosswalk in town. I'm a student at CB West, and I'm here to voice my support for the crosswalks. With the anti-LGBTQ+ policies being passed by our school board majority, many students feel unsupported and pushed into the closet. These crosswalks would not only add some vibrancy to Doylestown, but also send a message that Doylestown is an inclusive place that loves and sees all people, especially their youth. I really hope you all vote yes, because it would be a sign of support to so many who aren't being supported right now.
Hello, I'm Erin Greb. I live in Doylestown Borough. I've been here over a decade now, and every night, such as a night like tonight, I go on a walk around town, for a good half hour, and I think it would bring me great joy to walk across the rainbow on my walk. I'd probably make it part of my walking route every night as I'm out, and so I'm just showing you my support as a longtime borough resident. Thank you.
Hi. Larissa Hopwood. I want to say just thank you so much for even putting this on the agenda, for considering this. I know it's been a long time coming. And what I think is so special about it, Pride is wonderful. Pride Month is incredible. And I know a lot of people have talked about doing something temporary, but this is showing that it's not a fad that just comes and goes for a month, a year. The fact that Borough Council is really considering painting a rainbow is really showing the fact that that we as a community, and I'm looking around, I see so many friends who live in the borough, who work in the borough, that we are really behind everybody. We're behind inclusivity, and we're behind being proud of our friends and our relatives who are in the queer community. So thank you so much, and I really hope it passes tonight.
Good evening, Donna Shannon, Doylestown Township. I actually live right on the edge of the borough. I'd like to say, just like you said, I think it's great that there's so many people here today. I made a remark that it kind of feels like church. Like when I come here and there's no one here, and now to see all these wonderful faces, it is a nice thing. So what I've talked to you about in the past, which you have addressed, is the graffiti. What I have to say is where you're proposing to put this crosswalk still has a lot of graffiti on the recycle bins and the trash containers. There's a lot of graffiti. It's where the puck is, and I think you all know because we're constantly painting it back. They take the P and make it an F. So I am a little concerned about where you are putting it, because it is a place that gets vandalized a lot. It also happens to be an area where there's a lot of trash trucks that have to come in, get those trash bins. So, I'm pretty sure you're not going to do this with oil-based paint. It's going to be just like every other road line is, water-based paint. So have you considered how often, since you're saying that this is going to be permanent, the cost incurred and who's going to be keeping up with it? And I wonder about the vagrants that still come to our community. I know I've seen at St. Paul's, I think it's St. Paul's Church, that says it's a code blue. Does that mean that that's where homeless people can go and get shelter? I just wonder, I wonder about the safety of what you're proposing and where you're proposing it. Because like I said, the puck gets vandalized quite often. Thank you.
Leah Barnhart, Doylestown Township. So I'm here to ask you all to vote no, and I am reluctant to share my thoughts on it because I don't know if they're really welcome by most in the room. And I know with the live stream, I think that's a live stream on Facebook, and I know some of the comments can be really not inclusive or nice, which is sad. And also, Brooke Wassman, your response to someone who spoke tonight, it just seemed to me that you really have had a big attitude with whoever was speaking. So that
I just remind you to address the chair, please.
sorry,
You're looking
just
over.
makes me reluctant to really share my thoughts because I don't know if they're really welcome. But just from I'm trying to figure out if we can find some common ground here. This, where it's being proposed, are there cars that can go down that road there, or alley? Do cars go down the road?
Yes,
It
they
is a
do.
public street.
It's
yeah.
a public
It's a
street.
public street, okay.
It is a
So-
very low volume, one-way public street, but it is a
Okay,
public street.
I'm just thinking logistically with kids, from a safety standpoint. I know with my kids, they like to hop on crosswalks across, like they hop like white line to white line. And if it's a rainbow, like logistically, from a safety standpoint, kids might be running to it because it's fun and pretty and, and if a car is I don't know. That's really the only that's the only thing that I feel comfortable sharing my viewpoint on, because I think, again, my views wouldn't be welcome. But yeah, from a safety standpoint, I think it may be a concern for children. That's all. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Paul Boger. I'm a lifetime Doylestown Borough resident. I just wanted to say I came here to support this, but on two notes for you to consider. One is that since it seems that our school board is so enamored with public relations, I thought I would bring up the fact that this would be an excellent public relations move for the borough, in that Bucks County has been largely seen on a national scale to be non-inclusive and going the wrong direction in terms of diversity. This would send a very clear message that at the very least our borough is not that way. And if we want to continue to encourage people to move here and for industry to move here, those are the kind of messages we should be sending out. And then I felt it was important to touch on another topic that someone brought up earlier, and the irony is not lost to me, but in terms of art, I think that having a rainbow crosswalk certainly defeats the incredibly boring utilitarian black and white crosswalk. So from the art perspective, I'd say it's a thumbs up too. Thank you so much.
Just to clarify 2 points that were raised, Doylestown Pride has, as part of their request, agreed to pay for the materials for the crosswalk now and going forward. Typically, crosswalks, particularly in the downtown, require repainting annually, and that would be no different here than a typical black and white crosswalk. So.
Hi, my name is Pauline Miklos. I reside in Doylestown Borough. I know you all thought that was the end of the line, so did I. I didn't come here at all tonight for this issue. I came here for another reason, so maybe this is practice. I had no idea this was actually going on. I have a lot going on in my own life, so, but as I'm listening to everybody speaking, I'm becoming increasingly concerned because the feeling in the room, there's so much tension and so many emotional viewpoints. So I'm starting to wonder if this is going to transform from a rainbow crosswalk or a regular crosswalk into a bullseye or some sort of target that's going to be draw the wrong energy to it, creating perhaps a public safety issue in the town. And I just think that maybe that needs to be part of the conversation. So I was just thinking that, and I wanted to share that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Adriana Parsons. I'm a borough resident, and public speaking is positively terrifying for me. I just want to say that in my viewing of school board meetings and banners and signs and everything else, I feel like we're all just putting up signs and banners and painting crosswalks, and no one's listening to anyone else anymore. We're voicing our opinions. We're not being heard. I think rather than continuing to put up signs and bumper stickers and billboards and painting crosswalks, maybe we should strike up more conversations and do more listening. It's my humble opinion. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Good evening. My name's Marlene Prey. My pronouns are she, her. I live in Doylestown Borough. I want to thank Borough Council for this consideration, and thank you, Councilman Bell. Thank you also, Don Burke, for your leadership in this many, many years ago. It has been certainly a long time coming. And thank you, Chief Knott, for always prioritizing the safety of our community, including our most vulnerable. So I run the Rainbow Room, which is the Queer Youth Center here in Doylestown Borough. We've been here for 20 years, and this initiative also very much grew out of communication from young people in our community wanting to know that they are valued and protected and believed. And in terms of listening to the voices of people in our community, I spent 4 hours today listening to high school students sharing about how things are feeling for them as LGBTQ youth, and the story is not great at all. And that is not new. That is part of why the Rainbow Room started 20 years ago. It's part of why an anti-discrimination ordinance was passed in 2010. And thank you to our mayor, I think, who's maybe the only person who was on council at the time and able to vote for that. And I also wanted to bring a message from our state representative, Tim Brennan. He asked me to share his gratitude and support. He's also a former Doylestown Borough Council member, as am I, and to share his support for this crosswalk and this initiative. This is not a new forum, the idea of supporting Pride. This is not just something that's come about recently. It's not just in response to things that are happening in the current political landscape in our schools. It's not even something that's unique to Doylestown, the Doylestown Pride Festival. This literally came from council. So this idea that this will somehow open the floodgates for other measures is just categorically false. This is an extension of something that already exists. Obviously, the solicitor is aware of that legal protection and the rights that you have to vote in support of initiatives like this. It is amazing, all of the excuses that some people will use to hide their bigotry and their intolerance. And I don't just mean in this room, but in our community and in our country. And some of those statements are painful and are harmful to people that we are trying to protect, whether we're talking about historic concerns or that things don't look clean, which I think is a really scary code word for other things when people talk about things looking clean, whether we're talking about things being bucolic or environmental concerns or vandalism or low vision. As someone with low vision and with who's legally blind, that is like insulting to me to think that that would be an excuse for not creating a symbol of welcome and safety and support, or messages about mutilation, which are just disturbing on such a deep level when we're talking about these issues. We know also that LGBTQ pride is good for business. It's good for property values. It's good for families. But mostly, these messages are good for kids. And they let them know that they are loved, that they matter, that they are valued, and that they will be protected. And I'm so proud to be a former Doylestown Borough Council person. I'm proud to be a member of the Doylestown Pride Committee, and thank you, Chris, for your leadership. And I know that you're going to do the right thing tonight, and I thank you for listening to the concerns of the community. This is a microcosm of what is happening across the country, and I'm proud to know that Doylestown Borough will take a stand and will be creating a symbol of love and inclusion and safety in our community. So thank you very much.
Excuse me. My name is Tanya Kovacs, and I'm from Buckingham. And excuse me, my ears are a little clogged, so if I repeat something. Anyway, I just think that we're kind of missing the point. I think that this is a crosswalk. This is safety. I know you said you spoke or looked into the safety concerns, but it is a piece of artwork and it's on the ground. People look down. That's the point of artwork, is to look at it. We're driving. I think that this is just, this isn't a hateful thing. This is a safety thing. I think we're driving. We need to be looking up. I think for young drivers, my son's going to start driving. It's confusing to older drivers. What is this? Again, I think what Leah said with kids running to it, it could attract kids to it. I just don't think it's safe. And I think, you know, what's going on in the schools, if that's the reason why, shouldn't be done in our traffic, what we're doing for our traffic. So I just want to say that.
Hello, my name is Ray Davis. I have lived in the Doylestown Borough for 27 of my 28 years of life. I just quickly wanted to point out that those of you who are talking about safety, I don't think you know where this crosswalk is. It's literally in a place that doesn't really even have a crosswalk right now. It's not on a major road. There's no light to cross the street. Maybe occasionally 1 or 2 cars go down, maybe every 30 minutes. It is a very, very low traffic area. So just wanted to quickly point that out for all of you talking about safety of children running. It's already a place that does not have a cross light to cross anyway because it is so short. I think it's about 6 feet long. It is between 2 businesses in an alley. So just wanted to put that out there. I think that those people that mostly say that do not live in the borough, so you would not know where it is. Have a good evening. Thank you.
My name is Brian Land. I've been a Bucks County resident all my life, and I love Doylestown. And I love to see democracy in action here. But I have one word to say, because I think most of the issues have been presented, and this is to all of you. Yeah, it might be an obscure location. Wait till your first lawsuit when somebody gets hurt.
Hi, Devin Gregory, Doylestown Borough. Just wanted to quickly mention that this is not the first painted crosswalk in the country. If you could do a quick Google search, there are many, many, many across the country, different types of patterns, different types of colors, there's even case studies that have been done about painted crosswalks. They can be fun. I have kids. I'll still tell them it's a crosswalk when we're walking up to it, and I'm sure they'll be fine. Thank you.
Hi, real quick, Christine Longshore again. I just wanted to address, it's not an intersection with one car maybe every half hour, as like someone just said. I drive a Vespa in town, and I've almost been hit a couple times over the years, people flying out of, there's a parking lot back there. There's a parking lot in behind what used to be where Rutherford's camera shop is. People do come out of there and come out of there pretty fast.
Rutherford's Camera Shop is not anywhere near where we're talking.
Which one is Printer's Alley then?
Turner's Alley is where Evolution Candy is, as the gentleman spoke about earlier.
Okay, I
Across from the
apologize.
county theater.
Across from the county theater.
Just to clarify, we have spoken to our insurance carrier with regard to decorative crosswalks as well. I'm actually the chair of the insurance trust of which we're a member, and they have no specific concerns for this crosswalk as opposed to any other crosswalk from a liability perspective.
Seeing nobody else at the microphone, I think we're ready to call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Bell, you have anything else for us tonight? And now the matter we've all been waiting for. The Youth Leadership Recognition Program. The Community and Government Affairs Committee has reviewed the nominations for the 2023 Doylestown Borough Youth Recognition Program at its March meeting. After discussion, the committee is recommending 2 recipients of the inaugural award, Jackson Manning and Reese Grasso. Recipients will receive their awards at the April council meeting. If council wishes to follow the recommendations of the committee, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of the council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Yes. Come on up to the microphone.
I just want, Marlene, Doylestown Borough, thank you very much for the Youth Recognition Award and for choosing these 2 exceptional young people. I'm really proud to have nominated Reese for the award, so I'm thrilled to know that they are being recognized. And Jackson is an incredible leader in our community, and so I just want to thank you. It's a wonderful celebration of our young people. So thank you, Borough Council.
I would like to add that we received many outstanding nominations, and we were very impressed with the youth here and as reflected in those nominations. Thank you, Mr. Bell. I guess we have to vote on that? Yeah.
We do have to vote on recipients.
I'd like to call a vote on the Youth Leadership Recognition Program. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And that concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Bell. And who's next? Ms. Jarrett, Zoning and Planning, what do you have for us?
The Zoning and Planning Committee of the Borough of Doylestown did meet this month. First, we have the Zoning Hearing Board report, which I will pass over to Ms. Highland to give us a rundown on.
Thank you, Ms. Jarrett. The Zoning Hearing Board met last week for 3 applications, although the second 2 in my report were continued. First up was for 238 East State Street. It was a residential dimensional variance request to enable an addition onto the home, and that was approved by the Zoning Hearing Board. The next application, which was continued to the April hearing, is for 353 East State Street. It's a dimensional variance requesting relief from the lot width requirement. If that application is approved by the Zoning Hearing Board, the next step would be for the applicant to submit an application for a subdivision, and that would enable the creation of 2 additional residential lots. And finally is 201-205 Doyle Street. It is a use variance request as well as a request for several dimensional variances that would enable the use of the property in the Central Industrial District to have 4 dwelling units and some commercial space. The committee did make a recommendation to have the borough solicitor represent its interests during the hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Highland. Next, we have the HARB report.
You will need a motion for that.
Oh,
Committee
sorry.
would have to, if someone would make a motion, the committee would have to vote on authorizing the borough solicitor to represent the borough's interest at the application for 201-205 Doyle.
Thank you. If the council is in agreement, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Do we have any other questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have the monthly Historic and Architectural Review Board report, and they've recommended the following: that 150 South Main Street recommended for a sign application, and that was approved as presented and recommended to count. For a sign application.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. I know, I was perplexed there for a moment, sorry.
This is in your head. It's not
We had a few building applications. One is 139 East Oakland Avenue. The HARB recommended that council approve the application as presented with an evergreen screening that will cover the fence and shield it from street view. I believe this was for a pergola, though, not a fence.
There's a fence in front of the pergola.
Okay, great. That will cover the fence and shield it from street view utilizing approved plant materials. Next, we had 211 to 213 East Oakland Avenue. HARB recommended that council approve that application as presented. We had 106 East State Street. The HARB recommended that council approve the application as presented. And 192 Lafayette Street, the HARB recommended that council approve the application as presented. The Zoning Planning Committee recommends that council approve the applications in accordance with the staff's recommendation. If council wishes to follow the committee's recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second. We have a motion and second. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, we have the Code Enforcement Monthly Report and Building Inspection Monthly Report, which are in the packets for everyone's reference. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Jarrett. Ms. Margolis, Environment and Rec, do you have anything for us tonight?
We don't have a report this month. We did not meet.
Thank you. Water Utility, Mr. Lerone, do you have anything?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. We did meet, the Water Committee met on March 14th. We have no actionable items, but I wanted to give council and the public an update. Jeremy Matuso, our chief water utility operator, reported that water usage and service calls and projects that the water department has been working on was pretty much around normal for the month. Notwithstanding what Mr. Ellinger said earlier, Jeremy said he was grateful for the fairly easy winter, which led to fewer emergencies such as frozen pipes and broken water mains. But it only takes one with 3 broken valves, right? The other thing that we did at the Water Committee meeting this month was we had a representative from the National Water Specialties Company. He gave us a presentation that talked about backflow prevention systems, and he explained to us that Pennsylvania law requires protection of water supplies from what's called cross connections and water backflow problems. So we found out, some of us knew, but others found out that the borough is ultimately responsible to make sure that property owners have backflow preventers installed, that they're working correctly, and that they're being inspected as required. So this company, National Water Specialties Company, would be able to provide a service to the borough free of charge, which includes a commercial and residential customer database. Then in the future, starting with commercial properties, the backflow preventers would be installed at a nominal fee to the customers. And so both our chief operator, Jeremy, and the committee, which was fully represented there at the meeting, felt comfortable with this plan and this program. And the details on the contract and the program will be provided to Borough Council after we get those details from the representative from the National Water Specialties Company. And then finally, we'll be considering at our April meeting of the Water Committee a report by our water engineers, CKS engineers, regarding the research and information that we need to know about our PFAS testing in the borough. And we talked about being sure that the public is informed through our website and the other means that are necessary. We do have information already on the borough website about the PFAS pollution problem that we will bring under control in the near future. Did John or Phil want to add anything to that?
Just to reiterate to the public that if you do visit doylestownborough.net, there is a drop-down I want to. You can, there is a link to I want to learn about PFAS and PFAS contamination. We've created a special page for that, not only with environmental information about what the contamination is and what it does, but with the latest lay of the land on both the state and federal level with regard to regulation, and that is an issue that is changing practically day to day. And there is information on the steps the borough has taken to this point, and that will, of course, be updated as we take further steps. It's a very serious issue, a very potentially costly issue that's going to affect the entire country, not only Doylestown Borough. And as Mr. Lavrone noted at next month's Water Utility Committee meeting, the committee will be receiving a report from its water engineer with regard to exactly what we face and what steps are available to us to bring our system into long-term compliance.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And also, Mr. Davis and our Chief Operator, Jeremy Mantoso, will be attending a PennVest conference. I believe that's later this month, or is it next month? Soon. It's soon. And PennVest is an agency at the state level that provides grants and loans for addressing these kinds of problems. So we're very optimistic that we'll be able to resolve this problem in the near future.
If we see any cardboard checks there, we'll be grabbing them on the way out.
Absolutely. And that's my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lavrone. Ms. Popkin, Finance and Pension, do you have anything for us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance and Pension Committee did not meet this month, but I did have one quick update. We had sent out proposals and RFPs to review to look for a new bank for the borough, and we have received 5 of those proposals back, which is great. So we'll be reviewing those in our next month's meeting. And then the next item is the finance report with the bills to be paid, and I'll turn that over to Ms. Brinker.
Thank you, Ms. Popkin. The committee was provided with, or council has been provided with a bills list for this month. The total for all funds is $669,931.83.
And I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Personnel report. We did meet on March 9th of this year, and we met to interview candidates to fill various board commission vacancies that were not filled in our January meeting. As a result of the interviews, the committee is recommending the following appointments. On the Environmental Advisory Council, Mr. Dan Ford, for a partial term running from March of '23 through 12 of '24. For the Fanny Chapman Pool Board, Rebecca Masters, for a full 3-year term from March of this year, '23, to 12 of '25. And on the Shade Tree Commission, Jean Weston, for a full 5-year term from March of 2023 through December of 2027. The committee is further recommending that former Mayor Ron Strauss be appointed to fill the vacancy created by Mr. Cowgill's appointment to council. Mr. Cowgill has been appointed for a term ending December 31st of this year. If council wishes to follow the Personnel Committee's recommendation as stated above, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Do we have any questions or comments from any members of council?
Mr. President, I just wanted to comment that I sat in on that, although I'm not on the Personnel Committee, I sat in on those interviews, and these are 3 very top quality people that you're recommending, so I just wanted to share that with the rest of council.
Any other comments from any members of council?
Just to remind Mayor Strauss that Mr. Cowgill was the vacancy board chair for over a decade. He attended one meeting and was immediately appointed to Borough Council, so.
I knew there was a reason he agreed so quickly.
So look out, Ron.
It may be a while, but the committee's batting 1,000.
Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And professionals report. Mr. Doherty, do you have anything for us?
Thank you. I have nothing to report tonight.
Bucky, you have anything for us?
Thank you, no report either.
Okay, and Chief Nod, you have anything for us tonight?
Thank you, no report.
Okay. I do not have a president's report. Do we have any items of old business?
Do not.
Any items of new business? Open public comment. You could come up to the microphone and identify yourself, please.
Hi, my name's Vicki Barella, and I lived in the Doylestown Borough on East Street for 33 years. I went to the school board meeting last week, but I was 49th, and they only got to 47 comments. So I am on the beginning of the agenda for next month. I wanted to talk about the impending changes that are being suggested by our school board. I moved to the area mainly due to the school district and the excellent reputation. My husband and I raised our 2 children who spent their entire education in Central Bucks schools. One of the main selling points to purchasing our home was the small town feel and the idea that we lived in a neighborhood where they could walk to school. They attended Linden Elementary School. While I understand there are concerns about dwindling numbers in the various schools within our district, I do not feel that all of the things being recommended are necessary. The lower than expected and budgeted amount for attendance seems to be the main problem in the secondary schools in the district. I don't believe this is the same issue with the elementary schools. The one proposal that the grade levels in the school should be adjusted is a great idea. I always felt that having the children's freshman year in high school actually being housed in the middle school was a poor choice. Doing these grade changes alone may actually solve the enrollment predicament. Why not wait until after seeing what these changes do before making a second drastic change to the possibility of closing a beloved elementary school? If after a few years you see that the change wasn't enough, then consider closing an elementary school. Also, why would Linden be the school to close? I know that you feel it's older, smaller, but that this is what makes it so perfect to the families who have attended and those who are presently attending. Last week, I was able to attend a principal's award ceremony where a child in each grade is chosen for the trimester who is exceptional, following all 4 of the Linden pillars of being a good student person. Walking into the school brought back a flood of wonderful memories where I spent 13 years with my 2 children. I don't believe this is a school district award, but something special that Mr. Testani, the awesome principal, created and does quarterly. It's a great way to honor some special students, and my 1st grade grandson was a recipient this trimester. It was only my 2nd experience this year meeting and seeing Mr. Testani, and I've never seen a principal have a better camaraderie with their students. Back when my children attended Linden, there were only 6 elementary schools in Central Bucks School District. When the first of 4 more schools were built due to increasing enrollment, it was not the best solution for kids at Linden. We went from some classes having 3 classes with 20 to 22 children in some grades to classes having 2 classes with 30+ children. During these formative years for our kids, this can have a lasting detrimental effect on children who need realistic class sizes. So the school district decides to build 4 huge elementary schools, then an additional middle school and an additional high school. I'm also aware that out of all the elementary schools, Linden's property is worth the most money if it were sold. At a time when the borough is tearing down small buildings and replacing them with high-rise condos and rental apartments that our own children who were raised here cannot afford to buy or rent, we do not need this sentimental property turned into more overpriced housing, ruining the small-town ambience that we all love. Please consider my proposal, this is to the school board, and remember you as our school board actually represent all of the students, parents, neighbors, teachers, and service personnel of this great community. This should never be about those few who are looking to be in control for themselves and looking for their next best stepping stone for their career. Our children and grandchildren deserve more, our parents deserve more, and our neighbors here deserve more. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tony Arjona. I live in the borough, and I'm actually running for school board, so my comments relate to that and the other things that were said here tonight. First and foremost, I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, so I believe in rights for all people. I put my life on the line. I'm committed to that at the time and to present, to the day I die. I want to see people feel represented and heard. As far as the crosswalk goes, my concern is not so much what your decision is, but the provocative comments and hopefully lowering the tone and elevating the dialogue. The person who suggested we need to listen more, you clearly listened. So that's appreciated, but there's other people who probably continue to feel unheard. So for all those who said we feel unheard, let's flip the coin and put yourself in the other person's shoes. That's all I really have to say about that. My concern, because there's no comment on the software for tracking compliance in the borough, I was just curious, for something to be offered for free, usually there's a motivation. So my concern would be, what's the motivation of a company that offers this software for free? Where does that lead? What are next steps? Are there other costs in the future involved? And then there was also no comment on the hardscaping bid. I understand how these things work, but my question would be, and maybe you could address that, is there cost overrun constraint control? So you're not going to go double, you're not going to go 10% over. I don't know. Obviously, you picked the lowest bidder, not always the best, but for whatever reason you picked it, I trust your judgment. I'm just curious on that note.
Yeah, that bid would require a change order if the contractor were to go over his bid price.
Is there a fixed amount that they can go over?
What's that? It is a fixed amount bid.
Is there a fixed amount that they can overrun?
No, there's not.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Joe Shandley. Live in Doylestown Borough, Creek Drive, near and adjacent to Linden Elementary. So first, the previous discussion points, thank you for remaining inclusive and welcoming to all members of our community and considering all points of view. I realize this is not a school board meeting, so I'll focus my point on the potential closing of Linden Elementary. I'm opposed to that for lots of reasons, but most importantly, I'd ask this council to consider the impact on the community overall. Many of us have children that have attended Linden locally, and we appreciate the community involvement that a local school, a walkable school, provides. I've lived here for 15 years and came here primarily because of that walkability and the inclusiveness that walkability generates for the overall community and engagement with parents as they interact with other students. So thank you. I would appreciate you considering that and being closely attentive to that issue. The school board has been less than forthcoming in their activities, as many of you have heard. Additionally, there's been some word-level suggestions that any potential sale would include a deed restriction prohibiting the use of that property as a school moving forward, which could set the borough up for a challenge from a builder. That would remove the onus of usage from the school board and provide an opportunity for a builder to go after the borough's zoning ordinances as they are today. So be aware that that's on the table and that you should be aware of those issues. So thank you for your consideration.
Hello, my name is Karen Ambrose, and I live near Linden School on Creek Drive in Ward 1. Similar to some of the comments Joe has made and what we heard a speaker or two before, I'm here with other borough residents that are concerned regarding the proposed close and sale of Linden School. Concerned with this recommendation and the lack of transparency. I think similar to Joe's story, we moved here 18 years ago because of the uniqueness of Doylestown. The fact that this is a small, unique town that attracts families, offers a small town experience unlike anything else. Part of that is its small, walkable schools. It's incredibly valuable to our community that we have Linden School. It helps to build and strengthen our community and our neighborhoods. Besides Linden being an amazing school, it's also a community center and a park on a daily basis. There are people walking, running, biking, dog walking, playing ball, using the playground. When it's sledding, there's 75 people on that hill out in the snow. It is a community center and a park as well. So very concerned about the lack of transparency from the school board, and understood there'd be a public meeting, but we have not heard more. Unclear regarding some of the information that had been provided. I fully realize this is not a school board meeting, but again, want to express concern on behalf of the community. It seems like the consultancy, the timing of that, and what had been announced, it may not have taken into account a couple of things very relevant to the borough and our community, such as the 600 new units that are being built and added to our borough, and potential children as a part of that. And the Linden land valuation. Some of that might be protected. It's on a hill, there's woods. Again, I think there's transparency needed into the process and into some of the data that was used by the consultancy. So the ask is for council to consider passing a resolution opposing any possible close of Linden School and asking the school district to invest in Linden as a very valuable school in our community. Linden is an important part of the borough and our community. That's why I'm here today. And many others in the community are here as well. Just quickly, I think there's quick raise of hands. There are many people here of similar mind. And many who are also similar mind that couldn't make it tonight, but have other similar concerns. And beyond me, a few others I'd like to speak as well. Thank you.
I'm going to echo a little bit of what Karen was saying.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, thank you for your time and this evening, Council. My name is Marie Castor. I am a resident of Maple Avenue. My backyard is quite literally Linden's playground. We see the goal tonight is for the council to come together and unify its views with the community around the position that closing of Linden is not in the best interest of the Doylestown Borough community. To be specific, here are some points that concern us as tax-paying residents. The housing units in Doylestown Borough are currently on the rise, and it's unclear if the school board consultant's analysis has taken this into account, including the future intelligence or development of 200 additional units, the multi-unit development on North Main Street as well, and the new units on Doyle Street. How does this fit into the new comprehensive development plan for the borough at a high level? Linden is a vital part of the ecosystem of this small town. So how can we include and reinvest this community space into the new plan? There is significant concern about losing the charm and sense of community that the property brings to this ward. I see it every day that I look out my windows. Kids learning to ride their bikes on the parking lot. It's a great place to practice for kids to learn their 50-state geography on the U.S. map. The playful teenage banter on the basketball courts for hours past dark. And as everyone knows, the best sledding hill in the area where families come from all over. But most importantly, a community meeting spot for the residents of this ward. Any significant development of this property would reduce our property values, create a significant environmental issue with the runoff of the neighboring creek, but most importantly, eliminate the reason why most of us chose to move to this area of the borough to begin with. A walkable small school with a community-first culture. Additionally, there are some practical items that need to be navigated. For example, all of the properties that back up onto Linden on Maple Ave between Roar and Maple Lane currently encroach on the easement or alley that exists between the Linden parcel and the residential properties. We have our fences, our swing sets, and home garden beds technically partially on this alley. The borough should grandfather the easement to the properties on Maple Avenue to avoid any disruption of the current peaceful residences of Maple Avenue. We realize that it is likely that the school district has made their decision. However, we are optimistic that by supporting you, the council, we can overturn a short-sighted financial decision to maintain the attractiveness and charm that our unique and highly coveted small town of Doylestown Borough. Thank you.
Good evening, Fred Stanzik. I live on Creek Drive. Karen's next door neighbor. I lived at that address for over 20 years, and before that on Spruce, always in the Linden area, Linden Elementary School area. My daughter started kindergarten there. My son started 4th grade. I endorse and agree with the points that have already been made. I'm not going to repeat them here. I do want to convey how special the school is to the neighborhood. When my children went there, Principal Barnaby at the time was a principal. It sounds like he's very similar to the principal we have now. He knew all the kids by name. My children felt safe there. They felt a part of the school community, and they benefited a great deal from having a school in the neighborhood and from being able to walk to school with their friends that lived on their block. I just learned yesterday that the school board had taken it under consideration to sell close Linden Elementary and to sell it. I think the motivation, as I understand it, is, at least a part of it, is because the property value of the property it sits on was deemed to be the highest the highest value that they could obtain by closing a school. I agree that it's a short-sighted decision, and if it is sold and it is replaced with residential units, it's going to degrade the quality of the neighborhood. It may have a negative impact on irrigation and the control of water runoff, which already is a problem in the neighborhood. And we would lose a treasure. We would lose a school that's very special, as others have already said, to the community. Even though my kids are grown and gone and on their own, the school is still a valuable part of the community, and it makes it a part of why we live here, and creates an intimacy that would be lost if the school is sold and instead residential properties are built on it. So I join in asking the council to consider passing a resolution urging the school board not to close Linden School, to give it more detailed consideration. And one final point is, I understand that the board's either decision or their consideration to close Linden School is based upon a report that was done several years ago. The report emphasized, as I have taken a crash course in the last couple of days to try to study up on it, they emphasized the fact that the school is not at peak peak enrollment. I believe they said 80% was the peak enrollment, or the desired enrollment for these schools. 2 points to that. One is that the study was done several years ago before the COVID epidemic hit, and I don't think that it takes into account the fact that the neighborhood is in fact changing. I know there are 3 families on the block that I live on who moved there recently who have elementary age students. So given that, I think it needs a little more of a look into how the population is going to change. Secondly, I'm involved in education in my profession. I'm an attorney, and I represent parents of students with disabilities. And often, one of the concerns that is raised in various schools, not just in our district, but in others, is overcrowding. There are too many kids and not enough teachers. So to have a lower teacher-to-student ratio is not a bad thing. I think that there's a benefit to that. And it certainly doesn't create a reason to sell off Linden School, close it down, and create housing that would simply overpopulate and change the quality of the neighborhood for the worse. Thank you very much.
Let me just take a second before I begin, because it's very important to me.
Can you identify yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Pauline Miklos, and I live at East Oakland Avenue here in the borough. It's very important to me tonight to be speaking with the council members as well as the other members of my community, a few people that I know and recognize. So I'm coming to you tonight as a parent of a student who attends Linden. And as stated by the other people this evening, this is not a school board meeting. I'm addressing the council, who is sort of, I imagine, an interface with them. This is all new to me. In fact, typically I'm working in the evenings. I was very lucky to be able to be here tonight to show my support of our community. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story because basically my reason for speaking tonight is to share the very real intimacy that was spoken about tonight as far as the families in this community who attend Linden. So I'm just going to add to that. I do have some concerns because I've been trying to read and understand the school board's decision. And one thing that was stated was that the building needs updating and repairs. I, however, grew up in Philadelphia public school, and Linden is far superior to the schools I attended there. But I imagine these are very real concerns, and I understand business decisions. So the main point in what I want to share with you tonight has more to do with whatever happens to the property, the school in the future. I don't necessarily feel I have a lot of power over, but I want to emphasize how important our community and our neighborhood is. And frankly, I know quite a bit about it. Living here in Doylestown, I've been here going on 12 years. It was a very good move because I promptly met the man that I married, and now we have our son. I also work for one of our most famous former residents, Mr. Mercer. I give tours at Fonthill Castle. I've been doing that for 2 years. So Doylestown is an extremely important place to me, and I feel I know a lot about its history and I value it. So my son is 5 years old. He began at Linden last fall. The gentleman in front of me was speaking about disabilities. I really don't know much else about the other Bucks County schools. I imagine they're all amazing too, and perhaps my biggest concern is that it's going to take longer to drive him to school, or that I won't be able to walk him there. But that is a very real concern for me because my son is on the autism spectrum, and he also has type 1 diabetes. These are both recent diagnoses, and we're coming out of sort of the first year avalanche of all of that. But since starting at Linden, we have had zero concerns about his safety and well-being, either in a physical sense or because tonight the whole conversation was about inclusivity and people feeling accepted for their differences, right? So now we're at a place where autism, you know, he's probably doesn't have to worry about being bullied in school the way he may have 10 or 20 years ago. His teachers are designed to provide him with an education that's going to help him have the best life possible. And in many ways, he's very gifted. We went to visit Washington's Crossing this afternoon. We bought a step 3, level 3 reading book on George Washington. My son is 5. He was reading the book on the way home. He has what's called hyperlexia. So my point in telling you all of this, and you can see I wasn't really prepared to speak to you. I'm sort of rambling, I know that, but he's received the sort of specialized attention that a parent could only dream of for their child to have with all of the complex concerns that he has. And Linden is the most amazing school I could have ever hoped to dream of. If anybody ever grew up appreciating Mr. Rogers, that's what that place is. So I, again, wanted to convey the really real face of it, and I think now is the perfect time to do that, considering a particular tragic event that occurred in the Linden family. I'm not going to go into details. Most likely you know what that was. But yes, the principal there is an incredible person. I couldn't possibly be more impressed with him. I sent him a thank you note last Halloween because he and his staff dressed up as the mummers for the Halloween parade. And that was the first time in a year of dealing with type 1 diabetes that we could just sort of enjoy ourselves and enjoy our son and take a break from thinking about those struggles. And at Christmas time, he sent a note thanking Linden families for the ability to, I'm just paraphrasing here, but to be able to trust in their care, our children. And I thought that was so meaningful. He's an incredible human being. And again, I'm sure all the Bucks County schools are amazing. We'll be lucky to have them. But I don't want to lose the community. I don't want to lose the neighborhood that Linden provides here in Doylestown. And this morning, when I dropped my son off, I hugged all of the teachers and aides who look after him, and we cried for a few moments. And, you know, these people are very real, and they're true heroes to this community. And I just want their future and the community in general to be looked after by whatever is a result of the decisions that are coming down the line. So I appreciate you listening to me. I know I wasn't as articulate as I'd like to be. This time is actually bedtime for me, not showtime. My husband is putting our son to sleep, but perhaps I can end with something memorable by reminding you of a lyric by Joni Mitchell, who has a song that is as timeless as ever, right? They paved paradise to put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. So thank you for listening to me tonight.
Hi, Devin Gregory. You heard from people who used to go to Linden. You heard people that have houses that back up to Linden. You heard people that currently go to Linden. I am a future would be going to Linden. I have a 5- and 3-year-old. We are currently building a house on Cottage Street. And I kind of just want to speak to the beacon that Linden ends up becoming for young families entering the borough, or in my case, taking a very long time to attempt to enter the borough. Someone had mentioned even earlier that it can be very pricey, one. Two, we have a lot of standards on the way our houses need to look and feel. We take great pride in the historic nature of the town. But when I came to look at properties in the borough, many, many properties in the borough, every single time I met somebody on the street or on their porch or who was walking by, didn't say, you're gonna love the Doylestown. They didn't say, you're gonna love the borough. They looked at my kids, they said, you are going to love Linden. Every single person I saw. And that was one of the main reasons that we chose where we choosing to live, even though it's taking us, I saw you giggle, taking us a very long time to get there. We're digging in because of that reason. So hearing the news from this consultant was actually incredibly heartbreaking. Many people say they moved to the borough for walkability. We are not unlike that. One of the other changes in the last couple of years is remote work. I believe that many people, my family among them, chose to live in Doylestown among all of the places we could live in the Bucks County because of the community, because of that walkability, because of that charm. Nothing says charm like elementary school you can walk your kids to and from, and all the kids that everyone in the borough sees going to and from school as they sit on their porches every day. So I'm just backing everyone else, and I really loved the consideration of not closing this for financial reasons. Thank you.
Hi, Vana Diarmond. First, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to everyone and having attentiveness and patience. I really appreciate that. I wanted to ask you about having a student resource officer installed at CB West. So I already made it requested to my son's school, to the school board, but my understanding is that it would probably come from the Central Bucks Regional Police or something of that sort. So Central Bucks South already has had in the past a resource officer and now has again. And apparently this is going quite well. It may have been at one of these meetings, or maybe it was Doylestown Township, or no, it was Warrington. There was a meeting where the officer read a letter from a student, and I was very impressed. It was in the patch, so anybody can look this up. His name is Officer Bell. And I thought how great it would be to have someone like Officer Bell in at CB West and obviously at CB East, though I'm most interested in West. I also hear, when we hear these stories about bullying, it's tragic. I was bullied terribly all through my school time, and it was horrible. So I have a lot of empathy for those who get bullied. And I just think it could be a potential help to that situation if kids can, at-risk kids, kids who bully tend to be hurting on the inside too. So maybe if we get the right kind of officer, it's going to take a special person, they need to have the skills to relate to the kids and, but I'm sure there's somebody out there. Anyway, I just want to make that request, and I don't know who's in charge of that. I don't know how that works, but I hope others will join me in this request as well. I think it will make the teachers safer, the kids safer, and in general could be really positive impact on the community. Thank you.
Can you clarify?
Yeah.
Just to clarify, that is a matter for the Central Bucks Regional Police Commission. They will be discussing the issue of an SRO at their next regularly scheduled meeting, which is
Thursday.
Right here. This Thursday night
In
at
this
7
room.
p.m. and the meeting is in this room.
Great, thank you. I work Thursday night, but know that I'm with you. Thanks so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Jane Rakos Yates, and I live on Maple Avenue for 25 years as a homeowner. And I am here tonight, again, with support from everybody else in the community for saving Linden Elementary. My daughter attended Linden and had a wonderful education. She went through Central Bucks West. She now graduated college, so she made so many friends for life. I'm here for a little different reason tonight for saving Linden. In addition to Linden being home away from home for children in our community, it is also home away from home for another species at Linden. Chimney swifts, which is a migration bird species, has made the chimney at Linden Elementary its summer home for over 30 years. 30 years because that's how long I have been going to watch the chimney swifts there at Linden. It may have been home to them long before that because Linden was built in 1959. So a lot of people think that, I don't know if you've seen the chimney swifts, a lot of people think they were bats, but they're actually a bird. They're insect eaters. They only eat in flight. One swift will eat over 12,000 insects per day. They don't perch like most other birds. They have very specialized toes, so they hang on the inside of the chimney. They build their nests inside the chimney to hold their eggs, and after the eggs hatch, they fly back and forth with insects to feed their young. So they arrive in May and leave the end of August to migrate back to South America. So this works out for them because the school is mostly empty during the summer. So I don't know if anybody has known they're there, but, and then they migrate just in time. They go back just before Labor Day when the kids go back to school. So some years there's 100 swifts there, and some years there's 300 swifts there, which is a large population. Chimney swifts are not an endangered species, but they are federally and Pennsylvania state protected under the 1973 Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Their species is noted as being of special concern and vulnerable. So under this law, the building or the chimney cannot be disturbed when they are nesting from May through August. Okay? Yeah. So, I mean, besides the health of the swifts, they do not perch in trees. It's not easy for them to find another nest or another chimney. So if they come back and there's no chimney there, they're going to die. Okay, and as a special concern, I think that we should all be concerned about that. So why is one chimney with chimney swifts, worth saving? And it's worth saving just because we are supposed to be acting locally, right? We can't do anything about globally, but we are locally is the way that we're supposed to be acting. So, just want to invite everybody this summer, get a lawn chair, a glass of wine, go over to Linden, and around dusk, they come back in May, so any time between May and August, you can see them. They come back around dusk, and they swirl around. It's quite a spectacular sight to see, and they fly around, still snacking on insects before they dive into the chimney for the night. And it's a small wonder that's been happening in our community for a long time. There is another nest of chimney swifts in town, in the borough. I'm not sure where it is.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Borough Hall has a huge chimney and a huge colony.
Okay.
Your chimney swifts.
Did you? Okay. So very important, not only for the children, because the children, of course, Linden is a beautiful, beautiful area, beautiful school. Save it for the children and for the chimney swifts. All right.
Okay, Donna Shannon again, Doylestown Township, mother of two great kids that went to Linden as well. It's a great school. I'm not sure why. I'd like to know, is it up to you, your council, what happens to that property if it gets sold and why it can't be a charter school or a rec center or some other, it's got history, and there's so many people that would love to go back to it, take their grandkids back there for whatever reason. Is there some reason that people are talking about it becoming housing?
The property's zoned R1, so is an existing nonconformity if the property were sold, unless someone bought it for the purposes of continuing its use as a school.
So
it
you're
would be
allowing just anybody to go in there and do whatever they want with that property if it's sold?
No, that's not correct. Whoever would purchase the property would be subject to zoning. In this case, R1 zoning, which is the most restrictive residential zoning in the borough, large lot, single-family homes, predominantly. Although, since you mentioned the idea of another type of school, a charter school or a private school, in theory, the school use is grandfathered. So I suppose you could continue that nonconformity, but nothing else.
Okay, so if we could find, well, if this does go through, there is a way to possibly, keep that school atmosphere. I mean, I personally loved Linden because it was so small. Everybody knew all the teachers. The kindergartners knew who their sixth grade teacher would be. Like, it was just a great community. There was, everybody got along. It was a wonderful thing. I looked at what looked like prisons where people, went to Bridge Valley or whatever, and they just seemed so unwelcoming compared to Linden. So I don't know, maybe there's a way too that you guys can encourage more families to move in. I know it's very expensive to live in the borough, in particular. The township, the neighborhood I come from, that most of those kids supply Linden. It's not the borough that supplies Linden. It's mostly my neighborhood that supplies Linden. So it would be great if there's a solution to save that school. Thank you.
My name's Carolyn Penglaze. I live on Maple Avenue. I've lived there for 53 years. I went to Linden Elementary School. I still live in the property where I grew up. I'm wondering, as council, what can you do to help us save Linden Elementary School, at least as the property the way it is now, where the kids can come and play after hours and families can walk and we can enjoy the woods that are back there. We can enjoy the sledding hill. What can you guys do above and beyond what the school district is saying?
Just to clarify that, I mean, this is a decision of the Central Bucks School District ultimately. Doylestown Borough Council does not have a vote in that. Ultimately, if the property is sold, then as we've discussed, there is a role for Doylestown Borough in reviewing and approving whatever the proposal is for the development. What Borough Council can do is take a position and make that position known to the Central Bucks School District and attempt to make an argument as to why the property should remain as an elementary school.
Okay, thank you, and we hope that you do that.
Excuse me, John, Mr. President.
Mr. Frederick, go ahead.
Yes, doesn't the Central Bucks School District owe us an explanation along with these folks as to why, or as to the reasons, or is it just the Central Bucks School District?
District's report, we weren't aware that it was to be issued or of its preparation. It was issued at a school board meeting, and we learned about it that way. It was then posted on their website, so we have had access to it. But beyond that, the district has not contacted us in any way, shape, or form relative to this. You could certainly request a meeting. You could request that they hold a meeting. You could hold your own public meeting. There are any number of things you can do beyond taking a position to promote dialogue and transparency, either through the district or by yourselves.
Thank you, John. I think that's something we should look at, and we probably will, so.
So again, Pauline Miklos. I just wanted to return quickly to the podium. Adrenaline is wearing down, so able to articulate myself a little better. So I appreciate that round of applause that council just received, perhaps being able to be a way for us to interface. So I wanted to put a little more to the story. There was something I completely forgot that I was thinking I wanted to share about Linden and what makes it such a special school. So long before I ever met my husband, like many of the stories you're hearing tonight, he was a student there. Now, he wasn't a student there for his entire school career. Unfortunately, he came from a rather chaotic family, but we can't help the backgrounds that we come from. And when he was in 6th grade in Miss Rubio's class, and she's currently teaching at Linden but retiring soon, I believe. Anyway, when he was in 6th grade, age 12, his mother died suddenly on Christmas Day from an overdose addiction. Miss Rubio made a point of making sure that my husband was okay. After his mother's funeral, she took him to Friendly's for lunch, and in general, was just always looking after him because the relatives who were then placed in his care were like a den of thieves, essentially. And she has always held my husband up as an example to her own children of what is possible. My husband is an amazing husband and father, particularly, again, with all we've been through recently. But he's a sharp cookie, despite his background. He was about 20 points off of a perfect score on his SATs. I couldn't even tell you my score, to be honest. But perhaps if he'd come from a different background, he could have pursued what he wanted to do, which was to study microbiology in college and could even be working on a cure for diabetes. But what my point is, he won the 4th grade spelling bee at Linden, actually, and then went on to the regionals, and he came in 4th place in the nationals. And so we were so excited, and again, I'm trying to just put a personal face to this for you. So excited to find out that our son was going to be following in his footsteps by attending Linden, and in the back of our minds, we're secretly wishing that he'll be able to participate in that spelling bee, just like my husband did. So again, thank you for listening and trying to put a real face to the people of your community.
Hi, I'm Laura Lau, and I live on Maple Avenue. And like what Marie said, my property also backs up to Linden Elementary. You could say that my allegiance towards the school is more than that, though. Not only does my property border it, my children go there, but I am a teacher at Linden and have been for the past 16 years. Oh, thanks, guys. I know that this isn't just about sentimental reasons and nostalgia, though we all have so many of those to share, but it's about numbers and finances and political reasons and the school board and who knows what else. I just ask, and I appreciate your request, Mr. Frederick, to hold a meeting with the school board. And when you do, I just ask that you challenge them a bit on their percentages that they listed as far as capacity for the buildings. And my reason for that is because the information that was not shared with the public, and though we have asked many times, a response has not been given, is we don't know what those class sizes were when they determined those percentages. So, for example, as someone else said, that ideally a building is at its ideal capacity at 80%. We don't know if that's based on a class size of 20, 25, 30, or 30 plus. Rumor has it the number is 29 or 30. We know that even before COVID, that's not ideal. And especially now, I can tell you from the teacher's perspective that the amount of needs and things that the teachers are coping with on a daily basis has increased tremendously. Finally, and this is just a tad sentimental, so if you'll excuse me, if the board should continue with their plan, they're proposing 24-25 change. And of course, we know that our 6th graders would then go to middle school and so on and so forth. So that means that our current 3rd graders would be the unfortunate group of 5th graders who have to go to a new elementary school for that 1 year before they go to a new middle school. They are also the same group of students who, as kindergartners, had their school shut down when the world shut down. So not only is their elementary school experience has it already begun in a really unfortunate way, but they would be ripping away the end of it too. And I think we can all agree that none of us want that for any of our kids. So again, just a tad sentimental, but please also challenge them on those numbers, because that's one thing that they're not being transparent about. And I think that's not just a Linden issue, but that's a CB issue, because that affects all the schools. We don't know what those class sizes are that they're projecting, and that's really important to find out. So thank you very much for your time.
Hi, thanks for having us. My name's Kate McGinnis. I'm also a Linden mom. And I'm here representing Linden families, but also the schools that might feed our students, or the ones that, you know, our students or children may go to. If we have that meeting, I would like full transparency also, just when we talk about square footage and room for students, if they're counting hallways and closets and custodial space, because I am under the impression that that is when they count square footage, they're looking at the entire school. In addition to that, I would also just like to know projections when they talked about if there is a need to build a new elementary school in a few years, what that will look like, with how much, you know, our properties are rising when we think about buying land from a farm and then building a school on that, what that will do to our taxes and our community. And in addition, just more updated numbers, because when I look around my neighborhood with 36 homes, I see a lot of parents with strollers and 3-year-olds, you know, holding a parent's hand. So I just want to make sure that, you know, we're making the right choice and we're really looking at the numbers and what the students need in our community. So thank you.
Hi, Marlene Prey, Doylestown Borough. I'm Jane's neighbor. Thank you for speaking for the chimney swifts. There's also a family of foxes and a pair of great horned owls that live on the property there. So I actually handed my realtor 15 years ago a list that said Linden, Lenape, West. I don't want to just show me houses that are in that fit that map. And then I had to move temporarily, which some of you may remember, for a year. And I was like, I need to get back into Ward 1 and back into Linden, Lenape West, which I did, luckily, within a year. And it was a tremendously important decision for me. And like somebody else mentioned, it wasn't just about Doylestown Borough. It was very much about Linden. And I really appreciate both the sentimental, heartfelt feelings that people have shared and also the practical nature of things. When that capacity number was put out, there were so many teachers that were alarmed at all across the school district and said, 80%, we have kids sharing sharing desks. So there's definitely some questions for our school board that would be appreciated coming from this body as well. Not to mention, if they're looking to make a lot of money off the land, I can think of a lot of other ways we could be eliminating wasteful spending right now, including the attacks on LGBTQ kids. Could be a great saving of money in our community. But also really that nature of what a community center Linden is, and that how important that is and how important that role is as council members to protect important parks and centers and educational institutions in our community, and how much it is a community center. I walk almost every night through the property of Linden, and just hearing and seeing neighbors and children playing if it's still light out, and hearing the owls, and how much it matters for the people that live in this community. So thank you for taking it seriously. Thank you for being here so late tonight through so many public comments, and really, really think that your voice actually is important, not just for the school board, but for the community and for the Linden families to know that you care and you're listening. So thank you.
Having heard all the comments specifically regarding Linden Elementary School, I would like to refer this to the Community and Government Affairs Committee to another non-controversial subject, to further look into this to see what can we do. We really don't have a lot of leverage with the school board. And quite frankly, in my opinion, they're not being very transparent with some of their dealings. So maybe just by holding a meeting or something like that, we can raise a little bit more awareness. So I would ask that we do that.
Mr. President, just while we're at it, that meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 10th at 6 PM.
That was my question. So there's no conflict with Easter Monday?
We are open on Easter Monday. Our holiday is Good Friday.
And one quick comment, besides chairing that Community Government Affairs Committee, we're Linden parents. So I'm sharing your thoughts.
I suspect that meeting will be in this room, given the level of interest.
We're going big
Can
time.
fit in the meeting room, so again, Community and Governmental Affairs, Committee of Borough Council, Monday, April 10th, 6 PM, in this building.
Mr. President?
Yes.
May I share some information that I lived through this kind of a situation in my past life as a county planner in the 1990s, I forget the exact year. The Central Bucks School District decided to close Warwick Elementary School. Some of you may remember that. And so we had our demographers at the Bucks County Planning Commission explain to the Central Bucks School District that Warwick Township wasn't going to necessarily lose the population. In fact, it was going to skyrocket in population. And that bit of information and that concern on the part of somebody else outside of the school district board caused them to make the decision to close it temporarily but not sell it. And I look at the chart here, and right now Warwick Elementary is 95% utilized by students. So there could be some in-between ground on this as we explore the possibilities of commenting to the school board.
And we do not have any executive session tonight. And keeping with the theme of Linden Elementary School, I would like to adjourn the meeting in the memory of Dominic Testani, who is the principal's son, who died tragically in a boating accident this past weekend. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming out tonight.